to the Topical Juice podcast. And during our Black History Month section, I'm really excited. I have a really cool guest with us today, and he has worked with us at Mountview, and he's currently doing Into the Woods. And he's really great, and I'm so excited to be interviewing him today. But say hi, Nate.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
um, and why don't you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Great. My name's Nathaniel, or Nate. I'm an actor, and I have been working at Mountview since 2020. I started working with Savannah and her crew
Yeah.
with the foundation students and teaching some first years. And next time I'm going to be teaching some second years. And then I teach at other drama schools as well, dipping my toe into some directing, but I'm an actor mainly.
Brilliant. Cool. Thank you. So my first question that I have for you is who or what kind of inspired you to be a performer?
Well, I grew up in church singing on the choir. That was kind of my introduction into performance, I guess. But I don't think I really knew that it was performance. It was just part of what I did, what we did every Sunday. We had choir practice each week. We had youth service, all of that stuff. Um, and then I would do like plays in school. Um, but I never did GCSE in drama or anything like that because I had a real clear focus on wanting to be a chef for a really long time.
Oh wow.
So I was training, yeah, I was training to be a chef. And then in college, like sixth form college, I didn't do like a level in drama or drama and theatre studies. I had a free one because I was training to be a chef mainly. Anyway, I had extra time, so I picked up drama and theatre studies, and I got cast in, like this college version of Titus Andronicus, which is a Shakespeare
Oh
play.
wow.
And I really, yeah, I thought I would get one part, and I got to play Titus. I just fell in love with it. I had the best time, and then my college encouraged me to audition for drama schools. So I auditioned for drama schools. They were really, they helped me with paying and getting to and from London to audition. You know how expensive auditions are,
Yeah.
especially when you're doing a few of them.
Yeah.
So they helped me with all of that stuff. And then I got into drama school. So I thought I'd give it a go. And yeah, I'm still doing it.
That's brilliant. And what would you say kind of like your experience with being black in drama school is? Because it is quite different, and a lot of people don't really understand that.
For sure, for sure. Do you know what? It was quite an isolating experience. When I went to drama school, I went to a drama school called Italia Conti, um, and I did the degree in acting. And when I was in first year and third year, they did a play called Elmina's Kitchen, which is written by Kwame, who runs the Young Vic now.
Mm.
And it was a show that had an all black cast. So in my school, there were at least 6 or 7 black actors in our third year. And I thought, wow, this is so inspiring. It's incredible. And I was so uplifted by that. But in my year, there was me and my really good friend Rachel. So there were just two of us. And it was an interesting experience. There were things that were said, there were the way in which we were treated at times. Well, I'll talk for myself, the way I was treated at times, off the cuff comments or certain things that, I don't know, labeling boxes that we were put into. So
Yeah.
a lot of that was quite tough in drama school. And I think because drama school is I went from 18, which is so young when I think about it now, but it's a time in your life where there's a lot of change that's happening. And so when you're going through a lot of personal change as a human being, as well as exploring this idea of wanting to be an actor, there's a lot that goes on in that time.
Yeah.
And so it was difficult. It was a really hard time for me.
Do you feel?
Um,
Oh, sorry.
no, no, go for it.
I was gonna say, do you feel like you had anybody? I won't say in power, but I guess any like staff members or even like somebody else who works with a school, like a counselor. Do you feel like you had anybody to turn to, or was it mainly the other kind of black or POC students that you could kind of relate to?
Well, the relation thing was really strong with the other students of color, and that was a really helpful grounding tool. You know, there was a natural language that you didn't have to change. There was a shorthand that was automatically there, which I found so grounding and was really beautiful. But there was a teacher called Kate Williams, who just championed me the whole time. She's a white lady, she's an older actress.
Yeah,
But she really just made me feel like I belonged and had the ability to achieve. She pushed me. Oh my gosh, she pushed me. But it was never in a way that made me feel like I couldn't do it. It was always so supportive and always made me feel like I could do the job. And there were other teachers that was the antithesis of that feeling, like made me feel like I couldn't act or why was I there or all of those things that went through my mind. Um, so it was an interesting time, but I remember her being there really allowed me to think, oh, I can achieve this, I can do this. And the girl in my year, she's called Rachel Lafori, really successful writer and actor now,
yeah,
and we were really good friends. And so having her as support also really pushed me and yeah, made me feel more grounded and better, I think.
yeah. And because you've worked at drama schools before, do you think are you seeing more of like a visible difference between when you were there and now in terms of like maybe diversity within cohorts or like among the staff?
It's it's interesting. When I first started at Mount View, um, what's hard, let me start with this, is what's hard is that I come in as a freelance teacher, so, or whatever you call me, I don't know, I don't like the word teacher, it's weird, I'm an actor. Anyway, freelance, so therefore when I come in, I only see the students that I work with. I don't get time to really interact with many staff members, or, we don't sit down and talk about the students. It's not my experience. I come in and do my job and I go home.
Yeah,
But there's more people in the building than I experienced in my drama school. And even from 2020 to 2022, which is what we're in now,
yeah,
I feel like there's been more and more in the building than I've ever seen before. So that is a really encouraging thing. I think there's still ways to go, though. Like the student population itself, the diversity within that, I think has a way to go. And I'm not talking about shoehorning or putting people in for the sake of it at all. I'm talking about finding the best people, and they are there, and they need training, and they want to be professional actors as well. So I think it's come a long way, but there's a lot further it can go.
yeah. I agree. I think that's really insightful. My
And sorry, I will say also, just to add on to that, is that as a black man coming in to teach students and seeing faces that are similar to mine has been so encouraging for me.
Yes,
And I've heard feedback back how it's helped or it has allowed people to explore more, in a maybe comfortable setting to ask questions, to make mistakes. So I'm glad that I'm also there as a soundboard for those students if they need it.
yeah, I was just gonna actually add on to that. As a black student in drama school now, where it still is perhaps has more of a way to go in terms of diversity, it is very exciting every time I have like a black teacher or even just a POC teacher. Um, I think there's a kind of safety there that you can say things that maybe you don't feel like you can say to other teachers, or
Hmm.
even stuff like the material, because I worked with you in foundation and I remember you gave me like material recommendations for like my auditions, and I kind of feel like stuff that is appropriate for performers like me. I feel like that's
Hmm.
really important, and I feel like it's something that is still up for a lot of discussions, not only like diverse cohorts but the staff as well. I feel like
Totally. And
everyone
I
needs
think it's
to be,
really,
yeah,
yeah, I think it's really important also because I remember giving you material and I never wanted to shoehorn you or put you in a box about what you can play because it's limitless.
yeah,
Truly, it is. As actors, our ability is limitless. But there's also material that lots of people might not know that we have access to.
yeah,
And maybe it's because I will have read it or it's something I was interested in, a character I once wanted to play. I saw those characters and saw how appropriate it could be for other actors or students, that it allows a more diverse range of material to source from. Um, so yeah, so I'm glad it helped.
Yeah. um, my next question is there any kind of media, be it like a play or a TV show or a musical, whatever, where you've watched it and you felt represented correctly or perhaps incorrectly?
I find that such a hard question. I tell you why, Savannah, is that I think a lot of stuff that we're naturally drawn to in this country is American,
Yeah.
especially when it has the black lens. And well, I'm not American, so there's a film on it. So there's things that I totally am drawn to, I connect to, I totally understand. And then there are other things that it's like, oh, that's not a world I know, you know.
Yeah.
Um, no matter how black I am, that experience is not the black British or London experience that I have. So I'm always searching, especially in the world of theatre and musical theatre, especially, which is where I find myself a lot nowadays, about an experience that I understand completely,
Yeah.
that speaks to something that I've been a part of. So have I found it? Not completely, but there are certain shows like I watched Small Acts, Steve McQueen's Small Acts, and that spoke to a generation that is a bit older than mine, maybe my parents' generation, not quite my generation. But there were themes in that which I thought were so impactful and amazing to see.
Yeah.
Um, and now I hope to see it within theatre for people like me and you, you know,
Yeah.
and if that can come. And I'm sure those writers are there. I'm not a writer, so I'm hoping those writers are there and that they are
Yeah.
making that kind of work. Um, and that we can be represented. I have been listening a lot to the musical A Strange Loop, which is an American musical. And there are some themes in that about queerness, about black queerness, which I find really interesting and kind of I do connect to, but there's also that barrier that comes into it too. So hopefully there's more that will come and I can audition and get the job.
I just I was just on like speaking about this to a friend. I feel like black queerness is still so, or even just POC queerness. Like I feel like it's still very like new. In terms
Hmm.
of even being not even just being like represented correctly, but like being there at all. I feel like there's a certain
Well, it's because,
demographic
yeah.
that people see us in, and they want to see us do that like constantly, whether it be like trying to make it out of, I don't know, a gang, or being like, it's like
Hmm.
very stereotypical things, and nobody ever, I guess, delves into a bigger community because there's more to us than just this one
Hmm.
thing, and I feel like there's so much more that needs to be done.
Totally. Totally. I feel like those barriers are definitely breaking, and there are shows that are showing queerness, black queerness, on a beautiful level.
Yeah.
But there is also a thing that we have to recognize within our community is that there is a lot of homophobia
Yeah.
and like anti-queer culture. And I grew up in church, and I know that it stems from places like that. So there is a long way to go. I feel like we're going in the right direction, and that gives me hope. And I always try to keep um, the positive spin on how far we've come,
Yeah.
and at the same time knowing that we can go much further.
Do you think that things like film and TV and that kind of media, do you think that that's one of the things that can help kind of break down those barriers? Like,
Totally, because it allows conversation. Yeah, it allows conversation, and especially conversation within homes. I come from a home that didn't go to the theatre growing up, but we watched TV all the time. So
yeah,
we would have conversations based on what we saw on TV. And they've come a lot. My family, I think about my family, they've come a long way. I remember watching EastEnders back in the day. You're too young for this, but there was this couple called Christian and someone else. I can't
oh my
remember.
gosh, I
Anyway, they
remember
had a
that.
gay kiss on TV. Do
Yeah,
you remember that? They
yeah,
had a gay kiss on TV, and I remember my family being like, they were not good with that. But
yeah.
to have that kind of conversation now, it'd be completely different. And I think those kinds of things, that kind of representation is really great. But I also like I don't know. I can't rest. So I see that, and I feel like now that we do have queer black representation more and more, but now it's like very beautiful, thin in shape people, and I'm like, no, where's the like the fat people or the people with curves or the people with a stomach or a belly? Like these people fall in love too, you know. So
Yeah.
I want to see it all, and I want to see it all now. So we've come a long way, but there's still further to go in terms of showing what queer love, black love looks like. And
Yeah.
it doesn't center around supermodels.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like when these things happens, they're always like in baby steps. It's always okay, well we'll show
Totally.
this, but you have to look just like this so that people want to watch it. And I kind of feel like in this day and age, why don't we just
Hmm.
skip the little baby steps and just show
Yeah,
everything all the time?
and just go for it.
Yeah.
I feel like it will come, and I feel like the baby steps are a thing that happens with a lot of things in life.
Yeah.
Or we have like huge pendulum shifts that go crazy too far before we find that kind of center balance. But I have confidence that we'll get there.
Yes, I agree. Next question is, what is something that you wish you were more prepared for going into the industry?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think it would be about the kind of boxes that are put on you, and that knowing that you're more than that or that you can achieve more. And I think for me, I trained as an actor in like straight acting, and I sing a bit, so therefore I do musical theatre as well, and there's that. It's difficult sometimes to break the balance of the two.
Yeah.
Wanting to do musical theatre, good musical theatre, that's kind of what I want to do, but at the same time wanting to do plays and TV and film, and how accepting one job might mean something. You know, there is a knock-on effect. A casting director might see you in one way because you've done a certain type of job.
Mm.
So that is something I just wasn't prepared for.
Yeah.
Um, and also when I graduated, I was seeing for these like I don't know, like really urbanized London gang type
Yeah.
things, and I don't represent that. You know, that's just not a. I come from Luton, and I grew up in church. That's not the culture that I know. So there was breaking those walls to be like, this is where I really fit, and this is where I don't. And there are people who really fit in those other worlds who are fantastic, or people who can do both really well. I'm
Yeah.
just don't happen to be one of them, you know. So I know what I can do, and so that kind of realizing those kind of boxes that you might be put in, and then realizing that it takes some time to try and break those walls down.
Yeah.
Um, but you got to fight hard. So I say.
Do you think that there has to be some sort of balance between kind of, especially when you're just starting, kind of taking every single opportunity that you can versus kind of knowing when to say no? And how would you go about kind of finding that balance?
I don't know. That's hard. When I first graduated, I said yes to basically everything, and I think mainly it was about experience. You know, you don't really get taught how to audition or how to speak to a panel. It's quite a hard thing to learn, and even if you do have lessons on it, there's nothing like doing it in the flesh.
Mm.
You know, seeing what kind of mistakes you're making. Um, I turned down my first job, as in got a job, went through all the auditions, got offered the job, and turned it down for the very first time in 2021. That was the very first time I did that, and I graduated from drama school in 2020. No, that's a lie. I graduated from drama school in 2013. I made that up, 2020. 2013. So all those years later, that was the first time I'd said no to a job. But I said no to many, and I repeat, many auditions. But
Yeah.
I've only got that far in the last couple of years because I know what I want to do, and I know what I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Um, that's not true. I know what I don't want to do. So when it comes to and I don't want to do it, I know. So therefore, I'm not trying to waste anyone's time, and that also gives opportunity to someone else who may not have been seen. You know,
Yeah.
and I try my hardest not to waste casting directors' time because I feel like I have been. When you waste their time, they don't like it. So I try my hardest not to do that. But at the same time, you know, when you've gone through the process, you might be inspired by something, and by the end, you're like, "Oh, this isn't for me." and you should know when you want to say no. I tell you why. It's because acting is our passion, it's our career, it's what we want to do forever. But it also isn't just a jolly, it is a job.
Yeah.
So you do have to want to do it to be able to put your best foot forward. Um, and so sometimes you have to say no.
Yeah.
Mm.
Next question. um, okay, yes. As a black performer, what when you kind of go into a project, what kind of what makes you feel more comfortable? For example, I did a project where I walked in and everybody behind the scenes were people of color, and that's kind of something that I'd never really seen before, and I immediately felt a lot more relaxed. So like the people doing my hair and all of that were all people of color. So what would kind of make you feel more relaxed or more comfortable going into projects as a black performer?
Yeah, I think seeing people who look like you behind the panel is just so important. Um, I have done one job where it's been an all black creative, and it was Guys and Dolls at the Royal Exchange, and it was an all black production. Um, the director was Michael Buffon, who runs Tallower, and having that company and a black director, black choreographer in the room with an all black cast, it was like nothing I have ever experienced before in my life. It was a beautiful, beautiful experience.
Yeah.
Um, but I've never had that again. Never, not one time. But my first professional job was with a director, a mixed race lady, and she directed me in drama school, and then directed my first professional job. And that was also, I don't think I knew how special that was
Yeah.
at the time because it was the first one I'd experienced. Um, and so having that shorthand in the room and that kind of level of diversity, question without fear, being able to ask questions. There's never a thought about, has someone said that because, or am I here because, like those
Yeah.
kind of questions that actors naturally ask themselves.
Yeah.
Um, that's gone. It's eliminated. So having that is such a beautiful, beautiful experience, and I will always, always think of that job so fondly in my heart. But there's also a thing of having people of color within the cast, um, and having a soundboard or people to talk to, or a room that feels open and familiar, and a place where in which we can get good work done.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think there's a combination, to be honest. I don't feel like it's ever perfect. Anything's ever perfect, but we're searching for that kind of world where we can create good work because that's why we're here, but
Yeah.
also have great conversation, especially as actors. We do that. And when we're
Yeah.
working with good material, we want to have good conversation. What I'm like about conversation, about asking questions,
Yeah.
about delving into character. So you want to be comfortable in the space so you can do that.
I feel as though there's a lot of obviously there's a massive like call for diversity in front of camera or on stage and all of that. But I feel like behind the scenes is also where it's at, and
Totally.
having like a like POC creatives or just all type of diverse creatives helps kind of make more authentic stories rather than people kind of guessing what
Hmm.
people could feel like. I feel like having people
Hmm.
who actually know involves is like one of the biggest difference between stuff that works and stuff that doesn't work. I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, and the writers, the directors, all those people with an insight into the story that they're wanting to tell, I think is really key. But I also think it's key, I feel like when we talk about this, we're talking about things that are specific to our race,
Yeah.
shows or programs or writing that is about the Black experience. But and that is key. I don't even think it's a question now that that should happen. But I'm also talking about shows that don't talk about the Black experience.
Yeah.
That should have a diversity within the room. Just because we're not talking about blackness doesn't mean that the director can't be black, or the writer isn't black, or the producer isn't. We are able to tell a multitude of stories as actors that are not race dependent. Yet, well, because we have this skin color, automatically these are the only stories we tell. I refuse to accept it. Refuse. I want to tell stories about my race. Oh my gosh, I love the rich culture that I come from. I'm obsessed with it and I want to tell those stories, but I also want to tell other stories, and we have the ability to do that. So I want to see those people behind the camera in all of those projects, or behind the or in the stalls watching from all of those projects, if that makes sense.
I 100% agree. And my final question for you, actually, two final questions. First one is, because Black History Month is obviously coming up, do you have any films or books or shows that you recommend people watching that they could educate themselves on or watch with other people? That's my first question.
Mm. Well, I was thinking more about like writers that I love, like playwrights, and
Yeah.
books that I love. And they're both American, but I just love James Baldwin and August Wilson. Like those kinds of writers really, really tap into their American Black experience. And I just spoke about not wanting to do that, but they really tap into Black culture really strongly. And I think they are a fantastic way in for people, and they're beautiful, beautiful books. The writing is stellar. They're just so rich and full of life, and I think those kinds of writers are really fantastic, and we should really be looking at them and their work. It really helped when I wanted to be an actor. Those books were recommended to me, and I remember reading them, going, "This is it's like Shakespeare, you know, it's beautiful." So, and then I was also thinking about actors
Yes.
that people should look out for, maybe things that people know, of course. But I remember when I was young, I was really inspired by an actor called Adrian Lester. To me, he was like the creme de la creme of like black British actor. And still, he's incredible to me. He's a fantastic, phenomenal actor. Also, actors like Sophie Okonedo. People, to me, she's an incredible actor. Um, Marion Jean Baptiste, I don't know if people know her, but she's an incredible, if you don't Google, she's an incredible actor. And yeah, there's so many out there, so many Black British actors who are just really doing the damn thing and working and changing the game, you know. Even the ones that you might not have, they might not be as familiar as everyone else knows them, or as familiar as some of those other names, but yeah, they're fantastic.
Thank you for that. And my final question is, do you have any advice? I know we've kind of touched on this before, but if for like young POCs or young black people going into drama school, or not even just going into drama school, but just like aspiring to go into the industry, do you have any like advice or anything that you wish you were told before you kind of got into everything?
I'd say make sure you know that this is absolutely something you want to be a part of and want to do, because it naturally, this industry is a financial burden, and I don't think people talk about that enough. Paying for drama school is expensive. Paying to be an actor, we're constantly paying money. For example, I'm here doing a job in Bath, into the woods. Love it, having an amazing time, playing a fantastic role, and I feel very lucky and blessed. But the money I'm getting paid is okay. Like it's okay. The the money we get paid for subsistence, which is to pay for our living, is not enough to pay for what I'm paying for my accommodation. So I'm paying to be here. Does that make sense? So there's a lot of that comes with this industry, and that's hard sometimes because I don't personally come from a family where in which they can pay for my accommodation. I've got to find a way to do it.
Yeah.
So that is an interesting place to be in sometimes. But what I will say is that it's an environment that is full of people who are like-minded, and finding your tribe in whatever way you can is such a beautiful experience. People who you can have conversation with, you know. I remember in drama school talking for hours about plays and like actors we loved or actors we didn't like or things we loved or loathed, and that kind of ability to do that, I think, is just there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
So I would say it's difficult, and I'm not going to pretend like it isn't, but it also is rich and it's full of culture and it's full of unique experience. And I don't know, for me, being an actor is the best thing in the world. I love actors. I love them so much. I think that we do save lives. So when people say we don't, it annoys me. We don't do it on the doctor's table, but we give people laughter. We give people thought, culture, experience. All of that stuff is something we do by speaking with words. It's incredible. I've gone too far, I'm sure. But
No
now
way.
for everyone else, this is how you know the kind of teacher I am. But so any advice I'd give is I'd say make sure it's something you do want to do, something you love, and something you kind of can't do without, you know. It should be your ultimate passion that will also turn into work and a job. And finding that kind of passion, have to pay my bills thing is hard sometimes. Um, but there is a way. People do it so successfully. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've answered the question.
No, that was amazing. I was actually just like mesmerized by what you said. But thank you so much for like taking the time. I really, really appreciate it.
No, anytime, Savannah, and I'll see you in September.